we at the conference got to debut some brand new merch, and I wanted to point out a fact right now that there is a level of unity going on in the team right now, except from...
I didn't get the memo, man. What's going on here?
Listen, you shouldn't need a memo. We just are of one mind.
Thank you. See, for those of you who are listening, you're going to want to head over to YouTube and check out this portion. Love God, love people, love people, love people. It's the AC Podcast. For the love of God, love people. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the AC Podcast. My name is Troy, and I am here today with the Quad. We are back together. I can't remember the last time all four of us were on a podcast. I think it's been a while.
It's been a while since we've quadded.
It's true, but we say that every time we do a podcast together.
Clearly, we don't do it often enough.
Well, there you go. There you go. I was going to say, I know for me, I don't think I've been on in a month. I've just been doing commercials.
People have been hearing your voice just as a supplement.
Yeah. Guys, how you doing? We're coming off the back of a successful Apologetics Canada Conference for 2025, sold out. And I don't know about you guys, but I think it was probably Monday was when I finally felt all of it.
Yeah, I couldn't slow down because we do this homeschooling community thing on Mondays and I tutor. But as soon as I came home, the first thing I did as soon as I unloaded was to change into my pajamas. I'm like, ain't nobody going to get me out of these. I'm just going to stay in this and just crash.
Yeah, my flight was at 6:30 from out of Vancouver. So I got up at 4 to get on the shuttle to go to the airport. I think I sleep on airplanes, but I don't.
You think?
Well, because I can't tell. You know when you're like dozing, we're like, am I sleeping? Am I getting rest? I think so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. My body doesn't seem to think so. But this is the first day that I felt alive since getting home. Been stages of like lying down and falling asleep around the house.
Yeah.
Which my wife and my 3 children, I'm sure, appreciate.
Yeah, it's been pretty wild. And then I got this cold that I'm fighting through. So my whole family does. But we're making it through. It was a great conference. So it was very busy. There were a lot of moving pieces with this, and there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that people are completely unaware of that cause us a lot of stress. Yeah. That let's just talk about that for a moment, shall we?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's pull back the curtain on the behind the scenes. So first off, we had one speaker cancel on us who shall not be named. But that happened a number of months ago, and we at least could pivot from that.
Yes.
So there's that. But then we had 2 speakers on top of that we could not, for the life of us, get their visas, Moses and Yuan. Moses is from Malawi. Yuan is from South Africa. And we knew the Malawi, Moses, we knew his would be difficult. His passport's actually from the Congo. But we knew that was going to be difficult. But we had over a year. I thought surely that we would be able to pull that off.
Yeah.
And no, we
no.
And we tried everything. We literally tried everything. We got MPs
illegal.
Involved.
Yeah.
Tried it all. Yeah, we didn't try the illegal. We didn't go the illegal route.
Sorry, guys.
And then with South Africa, we thought surely no problem. But it's this interesting game that you can get into where you're hoping that the speaker gets their visa, but every day you wait is another day that makes it difficult to find somebody else to replace that speaker.
Correct.
And so eventually we had to have just a cutoff date where like it's got to be here by this point, or we can go no further. That caused a significant amount of stress.
Yeah. And it was really interesting watching this whole thing unfold, because for this conference, Andy had planned this way beforehand, and he is like securing these speakers. And we were thinking like, we're way ahead of the game this year, because the previous couple of years we kind of struggled a little bit, but this year we're going to be on top of it. And we're like, okay, we have everybody. And then we started hearing from speakers, one at a time, we're like, oh.
Do you guys not like us anymore?
Well, and this was the conference that I wasn't even supposed to be at. So we had planned probably over a year ago that I was going to take this one off, that the theology of technology didn't necessarily relate exactly to my area of expertise, and I had a lot going on. This should be something that everybody should hear. I had a lot going on. We had a lot going on before everything blew up, and we had a lot going on. So I marked this off on my calendar, but as things happen, you pivot, and when speakers cancel and we're trying to figure some things out, I said, okay, Andy, I'll hop on a plane. And I had just been on Ruslan's podcast. So we pulled some strings, and I said, hey, Ruslan, I know I just said no to your conference, but can you say yes to our conference?
Yeah.
I owe Wes big time on that one. But it came together, and amazingly, as often happens, as the Lord leads, like, it just came together really well. It was a fantastic event, but again, not without its challenges. Wes, share just a little bit about what happened in your guys' life, right before the conference. And this just gives people a little bit of perspective on the craziness that goes on behind the scenes that we're navigating.
Yeah. So 2 weeks before the conference took place, a couple things were going on. Andy and I were in the States, but I was actually preaching at Mount Horeb Church in South Carolina. I did 2 sermons on the Sunday morning, and then I did an evening event for, it was originally just supposed to be like I think they planned it as a small young adults thing, and then they had 1,300 people sign up, so it became a bigger event than even they thought it was supposed to be. We'd been reached out by the Museum of the Bible to coordinate, and Andy and I were trying to figure out, okay, how do we get to Washington, D.C. to go to the Museum of the Bible? And I pulled up my flight itinerary when I was in South Carolina and realized I had a layover in D.C. And so I just canceled the adjacent flight, met Andy and the team in D.C., and then we recorded. I did some stuff over there. Well, I get home on Friday. Or no, we get home on Thursday. We were in Toronto on Thursday. Did some stuff, met with some pastors, did some more recording. And then on Sunday morning, I wake up to my daughter having a seizure. And so...
and she's the youngest.
Yeah, so my daughter Juliet is 2, and so she had been really fussy the night before, and we're not the family that co-sleeps, but we had, because she was, up all night, fussy, crying, I'd taken her out of her room, out of her crib, and we'd put her in our bed. And when I woke up, I noticed, well, first of all, she coughed, she kind of gagged, and I thought she was going to throw up. And so I woke up to that, and then realized that her eyes were open, but they were kind of rolled back. And so after a few minutes trying to figure out, she's sleeping with her eyes open, what's going on, I was pretty convinced that she was having a seizure. And so we called 911, and the paramedics and fire department came, and it was pretty scary. The seizure was very subtle, and then it kind of escalated, and they ended up having to medicate her to stop the seizure because the seizure lasted for an hour, and then they intubated her because the medication was kind of had the side effect of potentially affecting her breathing. And so all of Sunday and Monday, I was in the hospital at Sick Kids here in Toronto with my daughter. So it was a pretty scary time. This was, the week of the conference on Monday. So there was a chance that I wasn't going to be there again. I wasn't supposed to be there originally and wasn't going to be there again. Now, thankfully, Juliet is doing fine. She's doing really great. All of the scans, the tests, the EEGs and CT scans and everything came back negative. They were originally worried about maybe a brain bleed or a tumor because it wasn't a febrile seizure. Most seizures in children, from what I've been told, are related to them having a fever, and kids' bodies are crazy, and they're like, "Hey, I have a fever, a high fever. How am I going to react to this? Maybe I'll just have a seizure." But that wasn't the case here, so they're still unsure what initiated it, which has been stressful in terms of
Must be a little unsettling not knowing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that there are no overt kind of issues. I'm glad they didn't find a tumor, but at the exact same time, them saying we really don't know why this happened and we can't tell you whether it's going to happen again, has been stressful. But just thanking God, Juliet's she's annoyingly back to normal. Like, she's very energetic, bubbly, and so very thankful to God for his provision for her. But that was kind of the context that I was stepping into the conference with.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. And I think for listeners who know, we weren't as a team sitting there like, but can you come to the conference though? Like, it's the last of our concern, but it definitely goes to show you that, and we're going to get into a little bit more, that putting on a conference and just honestly doing ministry in general, the rest of life doesn't stop. Like, the rest of life doesn't bow down because you have a bunch of people coming and it's going to be wonderful. It's like, no, life continues and you have to navigate those challenges. And so I know for us as a team, we're super grateful to hear that she's doing really well, and that as of right now, she is annoyingly normal, as you said.
Yeah. So continued prayers for that continues to be the case, and that she doesn't have another one. But I'm just, I see God's provision in so much. We don't normally have her in our bed. Well, even the fact that I was home, right? We were between trips. I was in the States only a few days earlier. I was going to be away for the conference. Like, if Melissa had been home with the kids and this had happened, it would have made it a lot more complicated if she was by herself. Yeah, the fact that she was in our bed and we noticed, like, if we hadn't done that, she would have been in her crib, and we would have just assumed that she was still sleeping. So I don't even want to think about what that could potentially have led to. So I definitely see God's provision. We have just so many blessings with our church community and our family who sent meals, and we have a couple in our church who are both medical doctors. Or I should also note, we have a board member, a couple on our board, Raf and Reshmi, who are he's an anesthesiologist and she's a virologist, and so they were like right on it. As soon as we kind of reached out and asked for prayer from people, Raf is phoning me, asking me how is it going? They're probably going to do this, they're probably going to do that. So it's just so thankful for people who are both knowledgeable and helpful, and just willing to send us meals and watch our kids and stuff like that. So lots of God moments throughout the turmoil.
Definitely, it's the community that makes it, more bearable. Hey, like it's such a huge help.
So that's just one of the things leading up to the conference.
Yeah, I was going to say.
let's share others.
Well, I wanted to switch gears, but before I did, we at the conference got to debut some brand new merch, and I wanted to point out a fact right now, that there is a level of unity going on in the team right now, except from...
I didn't get the memo, man. What's going on here?
Listen, you shouldn't need a memo. We just are of one mind.
Thank you. See, for those of you who are listening, you're going to want to head over to YouTube and check out this portion, because we're all wearing one of the brand new hoodies, the gray or the charcoal gray. We're also all wearing headphones. Look at us in unity. Whereas our president has decided he's against that, and he's wearing a crew neck sweater. And
El Presidente needs to be different.
He thinks he's got nice ears, and he's got his ears out. So for those
when your
of you,
ears look this good, man, you just gotta let them out.
And I don't. You just can't cover up that kind of beauty. Would you put a veil over the Mona Lisa?
Speaking about the merch, that was one of the fun challenges that we actually had leading into the conference as well. When we had created the initial design, so for those of you who ended up getting some or have seen some, at least online, you can see that one of the designs has a Navy logo or Navy alteration of the logo on the back for the Love God, Love People. And unaware to us, obviously, when it first got printed, the color that we chose actually came out more teal. And naturally for the team, when you got this gigantic merch order, you're looking at this box full of, at the time, we're like, this isn't right. This is not okay. And we're all freaking out because the shirts aren't the right color. The hoodies aren't the right color. Hey, but those charcoal hoodies, they look great. And I think this was probably about almost 3 weeks out from the conference as well. Yeah. But shout out to the designers, the distributors that we got from. They were able to amend it and get us a rush order so that we were able to get more of the other color. But it was funny because from my wife to other people, they're like, I love the teal. I think it looks incredible. And I was like, okay, we just spent months working on this, but I'm so glad you like this one as well. So that's why there are, two variations of the heather gray sweater. So that was a little hectic.
And for people who are unaware, at the conference, we had this merch, some T-shirts, hoodies, and a tote bag that we were selling. And we were doing so to give 100% of the proceeds away to the work that Moses is doing in Malawi with a great organization called Well of Plenty, run by Doug Dewick. It's a Canadian charity that's doing great work over there. And we wanted to support them. Troy, myself, and Max were over with a team of people over in Malawi filming our new series, The Theology of Technology, and we just saw the need, and we wanted to participate in some way, and so this was a way to do it. We also sold merch online. We sold so much that we had to turn it off. Where I know some of you would still like to get some merch, and we will make it available again. It was just too much. We're not used to dealing with that kind of quantity, and everything will be shipped out shortly. The other thing, too, that made things hectic is not only were we trying to ship hundreds of orders, but then the wrong color came in. Yes. And trying to navigate that has been incredibly hectic, along with a conference that was fast approaching.
I will say, though, Andy, and I mentioned this to the team, is that when I was in South Carolina and I looked out Sunday evening into the audience and there were people in the first two rows wearing this Apologetics Canada hoodie, it was kind of cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. That is.
And they were also one of the first then to get it shipped to them.
They must have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you didn't even have a hoodie yet.
I didn't even have the merch on.
No, that's right.
They were more up to date than I was.
Yeah.
I was wearing like a first gen t-shirt.
Now, the other project that we promoted at the conference was something called Starlink. So when we were in Malawi, we met with some Christians in the tech that were in technology in the refugee camp. So these were refugees living in the refugee camp in Dzaleka in Malawi that were doing great work in the area of technology and then using that to help people, giving people employable skills and helping them so that they could get out of the refugee camp. And we loved what they were doing, and we wanted to get behind them. One of the things that they needed was reliable Wi-Fi. We found out that Malawi is one of the few countries in Africa that Starlink is available. So we wanted to raise money for Starlink, which is a satellite that allows them to get high-speed, reliable Wi-Fi. And then we wanted to buy 2 years of reliable Wi-Fi. So my son, Tristan, heard about this project, and he wanted to take it on as his capstone project for graduating from high school. Yeah, and when you graduate here in Canada, you have to do a capstone project. And he wanted to do the Starlink, this Starlink project. So he was seeking to raise $2,400 US. He raised over $4,800 Canadian, which will be more than we need, which is awesome. And then we're going to use the remaining funds to buy supplies for a Christian camp, a Christian tech camp that they run in this refugee camp. But the thing that I thought was so good, and I told you guys this story blessed my heart. My son put all this work into it. He had a brochure and everything. He was on stage with Troy, and they were promoting it. And one of the things Tristan said that was hilarious was, "Hey, I put a lot of effort into this brochure, so make sure you come back and get one," which lots of people did, and lots of people were really encouraged by what he was doing and got behind him. But I loved this story. a guy came up to, that's actually happened twice. I was told later, but one guy and one gal came up to Tristan, and one guy came up and said, "Hey, I want to give you $1,200." And Tristan was like, "Whoa, that's a lot of money." He goes, how about you give me 600 and then go find some other charities you give some money to. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love that.
That's awesome.
Like, first of all, like true teenager move, but like what a great heart that he could have easily said, yeah, I'll take that, and just had the goal in mind. I got to get that, I got to make that $2,400, dollar goal. But instead saying, you know what, why not 600 and give some money to some other people? I mean, I've never heard anybody doing that.
No,
That's funny.
Yeah, he's never run a giving campaign. No, that you could definitely have a proud dad moment. We will allow it. He absolutely crushed it on stage and presenting, and he looked he looked like a natural. So, and he did a really great job. I was proud. As his best friend, I was very proud of him. So.
Yeah, definitely proud moment. And we are so looking forward to telling the refugees that we made our goal. We're talking with them on Friday. So by the time this releases, we will be having a Zoom meeting with them, and they've been asking us leading up to the conference, how things are going, and have we made our goal? And we're like, guys, we got the conference has to happen first, But they're so excited, and those of you that see the Starlink logo, maybe we could put it up on the screen here. This is a logo, and a lot of the branding they actually created. So they've been working with us in this project, which is very cool.
Hey friends, our Ontario Apologetics Canada Leadership Summit up at Camp Madiba is happening May 30th to June 1st, and registration is now open. But registrations are coming in fast, so you need to make sure you are going to apologeticscanada.com and finding out how to apply. Our Leadership Summit seeks to bring together aspiring Christian thought leaders from across this country for an incredible weekend of networking and equipping. This is an opportunity for young professionals and student leaders between the ages of 19 and 30 to meet one another and grow together as Christian leaders. Join myself and a hand-picked group of mentors, including our newest hire, Director of the Maritimes, Ben, for an incredible weekend of fellowship, teaching, and equipping. But, like I said before, this space is limited. We can only accept and accommodate a certain number of applicants, so make sure that you are heading over to the AC website homepage to find out how you can apply and get in early. All information can be found on the homepage of apologeticscanada.com. Don't miss out.
Hey, have you ever noticed that universities don't wait till students are on campus to select their basketball or volleyball teams?
Yeah, they're actively engaging with students long before they come to campus.
Right.
And we should be doing the same with our faith.
Yeah, which is why we're excited to announce the first ever Western Youth Summit. My name is Troy, Creative Director for Apologetics Canada.
And I'm Jenna, the AC intern.
Jenna, what is the Western Youth Summit?
The Western Youth Summit is not another youth rally. Not that those are bad.
Yes, we love a good youth rally.
We really do, but this is about identifying, equipping, and connecting students for high school and beyond. We're gonna have a great group of speakers come to this.
It's true. This event is in partnership with Apologetics Canada and Trinity Western University. The equipping is going to take place through main sessions and a host of breakout session speakers covering a variety of different topics, like the Riz Biz, healthy relationships and dating, and how do I explain that God is good, but people suffer?
Research consistently shows that the transition from high school to university and career is a crucial time in faith development. It's a time when students either deconstruct their faith or construct a faith of their own. Those who have been connected and equipped are often those who emerge with their faith intact, and are often those that are willing to share their faith with others.
And that's why we're going to be connecting you with trusted Christian ministries from high school to university. And there's going to be some pretty cool scholarship opportunities. Listen, we're going big with this. It promises to be an amazing event, and you're not going to want to miss it.
Spots are limited, so sign up on our website.
Follow us on our socials for more details.
That was one really special aspect of this year's conference, is that we're doing something, I mean, in a sense, what we do day in and day out, it has very practical implications, but to be able to then, add another dimension to it and actually raise support for projects like this through our merch and through the Starlink project. I thought that was really special this year.
I was just going to say, it's pretty cool being able to, it's pretty cool being in a position where, you know, you take all the merch, and more often than not, conferences, that's where you recoup. But to be able to take what is made from the merch and actually just give it away is it is a special thing. And it also just speaks to those that have been giving and donating to Apologetics Canada throughout the year and from this past giving campaign, because this is what you're giving into. So thank you. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to everyone who's been, whether you're a monthly, one-time donor, it was your first time at the conference. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, we do. We really do appreciate it. But that was also part of this whole thing is, given all the publicity that we've received lately, we were asking, you know, as a staff, how can we use that for good? And that's when we started going, you know what? People keep asking us about our merch, the Love God, Love People stuff. Let's sell that and let's give the proceeds away. And so that was a part of this. One of the things I shared at the conference is Galatians chapter 2 that really spoke to us when we were out in Malawi, where Paul is talking about the gospel, and he says he's gone up to Jerusalem to make sure, you know, he meets with the disciples, wants to make sure he's got the gospel correct, and he does. And of course, there's more going on in that passage, but basically he wants to know if he's got the gospel correct. And that speaks to me, first of all, because as an organization, we're all about the gospel. That's what we do. You know, we want to make sure that we're giving people the true gospel, which is what Paul was saying. But as he's leaving, the disciples said, hey, you know, Paul, there's just one thing as you go. In Galatians 2:10, they said, he records this. He says, all that they asked was that I should remember the poor as I go. And he says, and this is the very thing I was eager to do all along. And so for us, I mean, those always go hand in hand. As we're preaching the gospel around the world, we want to make sure that we're seeing the needs around us. And this was one of those moments where it was clear, particularly to Troy and I, we were like, okay, we see the need here, and let's see if we can address it. So thank you to everyone that participated with us in this conference to meet such a tangible need. And we're really excited to be able to bless these refugees and to bless the work that Moses is doing.
So I wanted to ask you guys a question, and just in regards to the conference, what was one of your most memorable moments for the conference? One of your favorite or memorable favorite moments of the conference?
I wasn't there for this, but I heard about a guy running around the sanctuary. What was that all about?
What?
Yeah, Scott Lindsay with Logos was promoting the new AI feature, which, Wes, this guy never stops telling us about how amazing Logos is. Like, Scott's been a long-time friend.
And Logos is great, but Scott's enthusiasm for Logos makes up for everyone who doesn't know about Logos. Because he's just like, listen, the guy's texting me and he's like, dude, you got to see the new update. It's so great. We're automatically applying it to your account. Make sure you go look and tell me. And if I don't respond fast enough, he's like, have you looked at the update?
And often what he'll say,
Scott.
That's right.
Often in his text to us, he'll be like, who's your favorite American? I'm like, my mom. But right after it's you, Scott. But so he loves this AI feature, which is awesome. Don't get me wrong. And we highly recommend going and checking out Logos. But he says in his presentation that this is so amazing that it'll make you want to get up and run around the sanctuary. And sure enough, a guy got up and started running around the sanctuary. And,
oh, my word.
And I get a text from Scott later, and he's like, hey, Andy, did you record that presentation? And I'm like, yeah, we recorded. And I'm like, why is that? And he's like, because there was a guy who literally ran around the sanctuary when I said that.
Oh, so Scott didn't ask him to? That was his
Scott hypothetically prompted a response that you could have, and someone said, that sounds like something I will do. And then he did it.
Yeah, so that was legendary. That was absolutely legendary.
I will say, though, if you go to logos.com/WesHuff, you will see the Can I Trust the Bible trailer along with some of the resources that we would recommend that you can, if you have Logos, you can get discounts with using that URL that will aid in your kind of companion to the Can I Trust the Bible series. So we have a long partnership with Logos. They've helped us out. In fact, they helped us out with the episode 2 of Can I Trust the Bible. They allowed us to use some of their footage from Faith Life. So we're very, very thankful to them, along with the tireless work that they do to just make an awesome software to help you understand and dig into the Bible more. So that is something we genuinely want you to take advantage of, whether that's, the offers that are available at the conferences or just in general.
Yeah, and I thought it was kind of appropriate that Scott was really highlighting the AI feature, given that we are having a conference on at Theology of Technology, and we're talking a lot about AI. So I thought that was really cool. It dovetailed really well.
Well, I was going to say we've come a long way since eSword. You guys remember eSword? You don't remember eSword? Oh my word! Man. I know some of the listeners. It was basically, I don't want to say it was Logos, but it was like that early. You could look at all the translations but it was very much like HTML. It was the actual platform didn't look very compelling at all.
That's what Bible Man used, right?
I think so. eSword was intense. My highlight of the weekend, honestly, was doing interactive merch giveaways and just seeing how much fun people were
let's just highlight that though, man, because one of the questions you asked is who had the most unread emails.
Yeah,
and that was outlandish. I would have never.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 68,000 unread emails. And I was like, you know what? Pen and paper might just be it for you. Like, I don't know if technology, you might be at the wrong conference because technology clearly is not being utilized.
Yeah, don't email this girl.
Yeah.
So when you first started, calling up the numbers, in your mind, how high did you think it would go to?
Oh, I thought maybe 10K. I thought maybe
and
10K.
That's crazy.
But 68,000? Like, I can't even just throw it away. Just throw the email away.
What did she say? Did she say anything? Did she have any reason for this?
No, she just said, I have a little bit of a problem. I don't sometimes get to them. And I was like, okay, well.
I don't think you ever get to them.
You're being optimistic.
Yeah. It was hilarious. And so I think just for my part, when you're emceeing an event, like crowd interaction in some capacity is like super, super imperative for me to do my job. And so for all of you that came up and were interacting over the weekend, that really warmed my heart. We had a good time. It was fun doing those giveaways.
Yeah, I mean, just seeing the amount of people who came out and from so many different places. It's always encouraging at the conference to look out and see a full crowd, and not because we want the numbers, but just because a lot of what we do is kind of, not that it's thankless. I don't want to put it that way, but when we do the podcast and I'm just staring at Troy, Steve, and Andy all the time, it's easy to get detached from the fact that people are actually listening to this, that there are people behind the numbers, because sometimes we can see the analytics, but when you go and put on a conference and something like this and you actually see people's faces, the personability of that is just really, it's encouraging. And to have people come up to you afterwards and say, really appreciate your ministry. Or say specific things. We're using the Can I Trust the Bible series at our church, or we did it with our kids. Yeah. That goes a long way to just really encourage us when we're trying to come up with the topic for the next podcast, or trying to come up with, how can we speak into this, or how can we leverage this? It puts a real face to the work that we do. And I was just really a little bit overwhelmed, to be totally honest. After Ruslan and I did our talk, we did our Q&A, and we kind of came down off the stage and we were interacting with some people, and just the sheer amount of people who had talked about the influence that AC had on their lives. I got given, I think it was 7 sweaters. from people who produce their own merch.
I only got one, man. Unbelievable.
You know what though? Did you get the Iron Ministry one? Because we got to shout out those guys.
It's comfy.
That is a comfy hoodie. If you go to Iron Ministries, I don't know what their website is specifically. They're iambrand.hq on Instagram. They have some legit workout gear that I'm gonna take advantage of.
It's
because I haven't updated my workout gear since high school, and so I'm still wearing. This is like, maybe you should wear a different shirt than you did 15 years ago, Wes. I'm like, why? It's totally fine. It's threadbare, but it still works. So I'm gonna update my wardrobe. But just the appreciation of people really goes a long way. I'm not because I want any more hoodies. I've all my clothing at this point is either Apologetics Canada or stuff people give to me. But it's just really encouraging and heartening to see people who are moved by the gospel and have us be a part of that.
And I had a couple come up to me that had recently come back to the faith, and man, to see the joy in their faces just as they've come back, and just how we've been able to be a part of that journey is very humbling. And then I had like a whole crew from Miller Bible College come out. Mm-hmm. Man, I think they talked to you as well, Troy. Like, what a great crew. Like, it was very encouraging, because I'm like, man, Lord, we need men and women, to lead in the church, and to see these students just fired up for the gospel and so thankful for the work that we're doing, and that we could encourage them in their faith. It reminded me of when Paul's talking to Timothy, and he encourages Timothy in 2 Timothy chapter 1 to fan into flame the ember of the gospel that he has. And I just felt like that we were participating in that in some level with these young people, that ember of faith, and helping to fan it. And you could see it. You could visibly see it on their faces. And listen, that really encouraged me.
Yeah.
I will also say we had an individual who came to the conference who's a little bit more of a skeptic and has been very verbal, particularly against me online. And I made sure that I went out and I met him, because I knew he was coming to the conference, and just said hi. And I messaged him afterwards when I was back home, and I said, hey, it was really great to see you. Sorry that I couldn't talk more. Planning a conference and running a conference is a lot different than just simply being at a conference. We're running around putting out fires. And he said, that was a really well-planned and orchestrated conference. I couldn't tell you were putting out fires. So, we occasionally are putting out fires. And it is true that when you're just a speaker at a conference as opposed to a group that's planning a conference, there's a lot more that goes into it.
And speaking of putting out fires, we had one of our speakers get like deathly ill in the middle of a session, and we had to have an ambulance come and take him away. But people will never know that ever happened, because you were in the session. But those are one of many fires that you put out.
To speak to that speaker is recovering at home. They're doing okay. They got a few scans and things, and doctors don't know what it was, why it was, but they are home and recovering, and so just to give that caveat.
And I think that's good to put into context, is that there's so much going on at a conference, and it's so multifaceted, in that you have all these things going on at the same time, right? Like, you have people who are coming up to you and wanting to talk to you, and you wanting to facilitate that, but we're also making sure that the schedule is running on time, or making sure that people are getting their cues, or that the breakout sessions are being recorded, or whatever it is. So it's a lot of moving parts, and I'm glad that people think that we pulled it off well and are not running around sometimes like chickens with their heads cut off, but sometimes we're running around like chickens with their heads cut off.
Sometimes we actually are.
And just from my perspective, because I do a lot of administrative things behind the scenes to get this going, talking to the exhibitors, talking to the speakers to make arrangements. A lion's share is done by Nancy, by the way, and I think we would be remiss not to mention her role in all of this, because my
wife is a workhorse.
rock star.
Yeah, and she is gifted at what she does. She knows how to create a schedule and stick to it and make sure everything comes together. And we really need that in our organization. I know Nancy is not somebody that you see up front speaking all the time. Maybe you see her maybe at the end when all the staff come upstairs, up on the stage. But she really puts in a huge amount of work to make this happen. So.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you, Nancy. We love working with you.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve. You're absolutely right. And let me just share one of my favorite moments from the conference. Is first of all, we did a live podcast with Ruslan at the conference. I was hosting that, and from what I can tell, that was Ruslan's first time ever doing a live podcast. I don't think he's ever done that before. Wes, do you like?
No, I think it was. Yeah,
it was.
It was funny because Ruslan was like, he was taking pictures of our schedule breakdown, and he's like, oh, I got to make sure I take some notes here because he's also running a conference. So if you're in the San Diego area at the end of this month, March 2025, the Bless God Conference. But yeah, I think this was a first for Ruslan in the sense that, you know, he's dipping his toes into the world of public speaking, but as someone who does a pretty successful professional podcast, it's an entirely different animal to do it in front of a live crowd.
Yeah, and he was saying that to me, which was really funny. So first of all, I totally agree. Go check out his conference. I think it's going to be fantastic, and we're 100% behind that. It is funny that, you know, doing it live, he kept saying, man, he goes, it's a lot different, you know, than doing it in my studio where I'm just talking to a camera. And so that was a lot of fun doing that with him. But one of the things that I loved about our conversation that he said that has really been on my heart and mind, and I think this is maybe a good thing to end on and even just pray about, is he was just saying that he really feels in this moment that we're either on the verge of or in the beginning of a revival. And what I find fascinating about that is that I've been talking about that. I know I shared with you guys that I feel like, and I had just been texting with a pastoral friend of mine, just saying, hey, I think that we're on the verge of a revival or we're in the beginning one. Because a lot of people see the Joe Rogan thing that happened and goes, oh man, you know, what's going on? But you have to appreciate that we've been watching for over a year of lots of those moments happening that led up to a Joe Rogan moment. That we're like, okay, we're noticing something's going on here. And then, Wes, you and I were just out in Washington, D.C., having these conversations about revival and people talking about how the culture is changing. And then we were in Toronto meeting with some pastors, some very, strategically placed churches with influential pastors. And they, unprompted, were saying, hey, I think that we're either on the verge of revival or in the beginning of revival. And even on top of all of that, I was just talking with a guy from Quebec yesterday, named Sam. We'll put his details into the description. You can check out his ministry. He is an evangelist in Quebec, and even there, he has seen a softening of the heart towards the gospel, which has been, particularly here in Canada, some of the hardest ground. And that we're seeing even in places like Quebec that there's at least the door. He didn't say the door's open. He said the window's open. But even to have a window open to the gospel, yeah, we'll take it. We'll jump through the window. But that's huge, and clearly God is at work.
Yeah,
and more and more of these stories are trickling out, and we're just hearing more. Even yesterday, I heard there's an individual. He goes by Apostate Prophet. He's a former Muslim who is very skeptical of Islam, does some like kind of critique content on Islam. And he just posted in the last couple of days that he's become a catechumen in the Orthodox Church. He's come to faith. And so, you know, I think we're seeing more of these things where people are impacted, not just by the influence of the Christian faith, like the Jordan Petersons and Douglas Murrays, but the people who are actually saying, you know, I've become a Christian. I'm becoming a member of a church. I believe in the resurrection of Jesus Christ and that influences and affects my daily living. And that truly is revival. I mean, we hear some of these stories. We talked a couple of years ago about the, where was it? It was at that Bible college, right?
Right.
Oh,
Asbury.
Asbury,
yeah,
the Asbury
Asbury.
revival, and not to downplay those kind of situations, but I think there's what we're seeing is much more grassroots, and it's coming up from a variety of different places. It's not just one event. We're seeing people who are popping out of the woodwork all over the world, influential people who otherwise would have identified as agnostics, maybe even skeptics, who are coming to faith. And we're talking to pastors, like you said, Andy, who are saying, I'm seeing this stuff. I'm seeing people come to church. Even some of the emails we've been getting. We got an email recently, Jill, one of our staff, forwarded to us, and I was talking with Andy about this on the weekend, of someone who was like, I work at a Christian bookstore, which is kind of a dying industry anyways, and people are coming in and being like, where can I get a Bible? All my friends are talking about the Bible. And she's like, what? Working over a decade in a Christian bookstore and nobody's coming in to buy Bibles. And then all of a sudden people are like, all my friends have Bibles. I want a Bible. Like, it's an interesting time for sure.
For me, that was really instructive, because I was looking back to when I first started going to Bible college and whatnot back in 2005, 2006, around there. That was like the heyday of new atheism, right? After, in the wake of 9/11, a bunch of materials came up written by new atheists, and it was just really taking off. And Andy, you probably remember some of these guys that we were interacting with. That's your young adults group who would come and visit, and it was going really strong. And I remember thinking at the time that this would stay, like this is going to be the new normal. But you look at what's going on now, and you look at, I saw this graph of how many times the term new atheism was mentioned in the media, and it hit the high in the 2005, 2006, around that time, and then it just plummeted right after. So it was like a really big kind of a flash in the pan kind of a thing in terms of longer history. So then I had to think to myself, right, for one, what else is going on right now that I think might be here to stay, that might be just another flash in the pan? And secondly, it was really comforting to know that, especially as we work in a ministry setting like this, sometimes the temptation for me is that it depends on me. It depends on us to make this change, only to realize, no, I'm just really along for the ride to whatever it is that the Holy Spirit is doing out there. Steve, you don't need to do the heavy lifting. You just do your small part and be faithful to whatever God places in front of you in the small interactions, daily interactions that you have with your family, with your friends, or whatever it might be. When I send emails and doing all these seemingly mundane things, it's going to actually have an impact as the Holy Spirit uses it to make a bigger change. He's doing so much out there. I don't need to do the heavy lifting. So that was really instructive for me.
Yeah, and I think we see that, Ephesians 2:10, for we are his workmanship created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. We are very much a part of something bigger than us. And we're so blessed at AC to be able to see the work of the gospel being effectively done. But at the end of the day, we're just a tool that God is using to accomplish his will and grow his kingdom. But it's not about AC. It's not about any other ministry or denomination or what have you. It's truly about the gospel. And when we see these conferences and the effect that they have and how we're able to speak clarity into a culture of confusion and then see the impact of that on the culture with the things that you just talked about, Steve, with the statistics of new atheism on the downtrend from analytics, that's God doing the work. That's the Spirit going out into the world.
Yeah. We are just grateful as an organization, continuing to strive to do things in excellence, but not just in excellence, but also with a sensitivity. Going topic to topic, year to year is not just, let's just throw things in a hat and see what we like. It's they come from prayer. It comes from a posture of saying, Lord, what are you saying? And Theology of Technology was something that, as the rise in commercial AI was becoming more prevalent in everyone's lives, we felt like it was important for us to well, let's see what the Bible says. And that is always our framework at AC. Like before we want to just go and speak about a topic, let's go see what the Bible says. So just on behalf of everyone at AC, I just want to first and foremost thank all of you for coming, whether you were at the on-site live stream, whether you were in the worship center or online. But for those of you who might have missed out on getting to be there in person, you can go and pre-order the recordings. The team is working tirelessly behind the scenes to get those to you. And for me, as someone sitting on the audio side, it is great listening back and reviewing. You're going to really, really enjoy those breakout sessions as well as the main sessions. And as well as I believe we're going to have the opener there. So yeah, we just want to make sure that we can get that into your hands. And hopefully we get to see you at another event coming up really soon. In May, we have the Leadership Summit happening at the end of May, where Wes will be leading that out in the Muskoka Woods. You'll be at a place called Camp Mediba, and the Leadership Summit is an opportunity for young Christian thought leaders aged 19 to 30 to just grow in what it means to be a Christian leader. And so there's more information about that at our events page. If you are a youth pastor or you have a high schooler in your home and you're in the Lower Mainland, we are also holding an event called the Western Youth Summit. And it is in its nature, it seems like another youth conference, but this is going to be heavily on the equipping component. We want to give high schoolers the ability to have base level apologetics because, like we were saying, there is a revival that is happening. There is a great hunger for wisdom and knowledge. Like, why do I believe what do I believe? And we have seen that when they're equipped early, the chances of them walking away from their faith greatly decreases. And so we want to help facilitate something like that.
Yeah, and more than that too, I've been thinking, as my son heads off to college next year, changing our mindset from how do I help him to keep his faith to how do I help him to share his faith?
Yeah. So again, whether it's the Leadership Summit in Ontario happening in May, or it is the Western Youth Summit, you can head to our website, apologeticscanada.com, for more information. And there is more on the way, but that's what we have coming up in the next couple of months. So thank you, listeners, so much for tuning into the AC podcast. Thank you to all of the volunteers, all of the speakers who came to the conference, to the AC team, new and older. We are so, so grateful. But tune in next week when we find more things to think about. And as always, love God, love people. Bye for now.
It's the AC Podcast.